Okay, welcome to Doc's Garage. This is a 2008 Ford Focus. I've been having a hard time getting it to crank. I put the ignition key in, I turn it to the on position, it works just fine, but then once I've got it set up to crank, it doesn't want to crank. I have to push harder and harder and turn it harder and harder to finally get it to crank over. Today I'm going to show you how to fix a problem with the ignition switch on a 2008 Ford Focus. Over a period of time you might notice that as you're trying to get it to crank, it's harder and harder to get to that position. You're pushing harder and harder. Eventually you're afraid that maybe it'll get to where it won't crank at all. That would not be a good day. So let me show you how to replace the ignition switch on this, and it's fairly simple to do. It's not as tough as you might think. I just ordered up one from Amazon. I think it was like 16 or 18 bucks, something like that. It's not too bad. It might have been 25. Still not too bad. So let me show you step by step how you get into this so that you can do yours, and you'll be so much happier that it cranks so easily. So let's get on with it. 6mm socket. You can use a shallow or deep. Deep's a little bit easier. There's going to be 3 of them. There's going to be a hole right here. Oops. Going to go up in there and you're going to loosen that one. Another one over on the other side, and then one towards the back. Little tiny screws. Already. Little tiny screws that are in there. Not very big, but there's 3 of those, and that disconnects the lower part from the upper part. And then right here, hopefully you can see it, I've already had this apart, there's little tabs that hold this all together. So what I do is I take a little screwdriver, and up on the top here I push through this little hole that you'll see, and it pushes against that tab and allows me to drop this down. And then I come in here and I carefully pry it down. Same thing on this side. There's a lever underneath that allows the steering wheel to adjust up and down, you might notice. See how it slides? But once you've got it disconnected, you pull this up and out, just set it up out of the way. This bottom part, you're going to have to maneuver it a little bit. It's going to be a little tough to get. So you want to take this bottom panel down. Now the bottom panel has got clips along the top, so really all you need to do is just get in here, give it a good pull as you come along, and you see where the tabs are. Okay, so you can see where those tabs are right there. So just bring this on down, that's out of your way. And then you've got this tab here that goes through a hole in the bottom. So you just need to maneuver this a little bit. I'm going to bring you over to the other side so that you can see how I'm pulling it off. Of course, you can see that. This round piece here is part of the shroud that you're going to pull off, so you just need to pull it this direction a little bit. See how it pops right off there? Once you've got that, then you just kind of maneuver this out. There's a tab on this side that wants to hang up, and it's also got to come through a hole down here in the bottom. But you'll see as you move it around, let this side come out first. Have to work it a little bit. Move the steering wheel up so you get a little bit more access. This way. Oh, okay. I tried to make it look easy, and I failed. But you'll work with it and you kind of get it. And you see how this clip goes on here. It's part of what makes your dinger ding, as you heard a little bit ago. So that's in place. Now a lot of times people will think this is the ignition switch. No, that's where the ignition key goes in. The ignition switch is on the other side. Okay, this is the ignition switch that I got from Amazon. I'm trying to remember exactly how much I paid for it, but it was less than 25, I'm pretty sure. I think it was like 18. So you can see where there's connections inside here. Hopefully you can see that. And then you match it up with up in here. This little hole right here, there's a little piece that comes off the ignition switch when you turn the key. Anyway, that goes into that little hole, and that twists that, and that's where the spring load in here that gets weak. It's going to go in just like that. So I'm going to unplug it from here, pull that back. You got to push that little tab in. Little tab right there, and then pull that back. So I've got, now you might look around this and say, well, how am I going to put that in? There's no screws. What's going on? Well, here's how this works. If you look on the top, make sure you see it. You look on the top right there. Make sure you get a good view of that. There's a little spring clip, and same thing on the bottom side. Little spring clip right there. So the way this comes out is I'm going to go into the top with a screwdriver, I'm going to go into the back side, I'm going to push this down and then pry it. Same thing underneath, and that'll pop this thing out. I'm going to reach in back here, back side. I'm going to push that down and pop the top off. I'm going to go underneath. And pop that off. Once I've got those undone, and I come around here and I wiggle it on out. This wire sometimes might get in your way, but you can just kind of pull it out of the way. And there it is. So that's the old one. Okay, so there's the little hole inside there, or that little stick, I guess you call it axle, that's going to go into this hole. So you want to make sure that's kind of lined up. So you take your key and put it to the off position, and it's almost straight up and down. So when I put this in, I want to make sure that that's pretty much straight up and down too, close enough that it'll hit. You might have to wiggle the key a little bit as you're putting it in. But as you go to put it in, I'm going to put it in here first, and you're going to have a little bit of trouble in the back side. Again, you want to move this out of the way a little bit, and then get that to stick in there. And then as I move the key, I can feel that it's in, and then you just simply push it in, and those top and bottom snaps snapped into place. Easy peasy, right? Make sure you're in park. Success! So, that's how that part works. Now, let's continue on, and I'll show you how to reassemble all this stuff real quick. The lower part is going to go in first. That's going to be the one I struggle with the most, because I need to try to get it up through where this handle is. Makes the steering wheel move up and down, and then you can lock it in place. It's got to go through these holes. So I'm going to put the side towards the passenger side in a little bit first. And we'll come over, move that through that hole. And not too bad. I'm going to bring it on up. Because I got the door open, I'm playing this thing, the dinger go ding, ding, ding. Bring it up into position. And on this side, you can't see, but I'm putting the collar over the key goes. Adjust that up. And now I take the top piece, slide it back in first. Bring that around. And as I mentioned, there's these little clips here that you can see. Hopefully you can see those. Put those in place, snap them into place. Same thing with this front one. Same thing over here. Makes it work good. Ooh, look at that. Or I should say, listen to that. So these are all done. Now I got those 3 screws. They're going to go up in the bottom. And then this comes up, and these just snap back into place. And then once I get in and adjust where I want the steering wheel to be, then I just lock that in place. It keeps it locked in. And now it's just a matter of putting those 3 screws in, size 6mm. Just put it in a little snug for now. So hopefully that helped you.